Now we're ready to talk about reporters. Let me clear this. CC clears everything down there in the command center, and clean will clear everything in the main window. So we talked about triangle and poly, making different designs that way. Now let's talk about reporters. So we saw these were commands because you can type them in the directly in the command center, and as long as they have their inputs, they'll just do what you want without complaining. Let's say what's another interesting shape? Maybe let's try 45. See, okay, that's kind of cool. Yes, we can write commands with no input or with one or more inputs, right? So now let's talk about how do we make reporters. So we know that we know something's a reporter if you type it as the first thing and says I don't know what to do with, right? And notice we said before reporters may or may not need inputs, but once the reporter gets all its inputs, if you put it as the first thing on the line, it's going to say I don't know what to do with whatever it outputs, right? Because it's what happens is it gets evaluated until we get to an output, and then foo doesn't know what to do with the output. Okay, so then we can do stuff with it if we want, right? We can go forward by that amount, or we can turn right by whatever kind of output we get, as long as it fits the what the command needs for an input, it'll work. So let's now talk about reporters. So so reporters, so you can write reporters. So let's see, we have this reporter here, offset X, that I'm going to type in here. If I say offset X, see it says I don't know what to do with. So how did this work? Well, what it did was it said, okay, I'm going to take out the quotient of whatever my turtle size is. So size just tells you how big the turtle is. So the size of this turtle is 40. So we have the quotient of 40 and 2. That's 20, right? And then we're going to take the sum of the x core plus that 20, and we're going to output that value. So we're going to output something. So when you see this keyword output in a procedure, that means you're basically turned that procedure into a reporter. So output is a special word. I mean, you can't say output 4 plus 5 in the command center. Output can only be used inside a procedure. All right, so it's a special word that you use inside a procedure, and it basically turns that procedure into a reporter. So when you put that in there, it'll put that, it'll shoot out whatever you've told it to report. Okay, so and we saw that offset X was a reporter that didn't need any inputs. We can also have reporters that need input. So here's a reporter called square, and notice this looks different from triangle, right? It's not gonna draw a square. There's no like repeat 4 forward 100 whatever. This is doing something different. This is taking the product of X and X, and it's reporting that value. So if we say, so if I just say, let me see this. So if I just say square, it's going to say square needs more inputs, okay? Because we have one, we require one input for it, right? If I say square 5, it says I don't know what to do with 25 because it's a reporter. Okay, reporters. Once reporters have collected their inputs, they always will say I don't know what to do with. Okay, so this guy only needs one input. So this is how you write a reporter to square a number. I could say show the square of 10, and it shows me 100, okay? Or I could say forward by the square of 8, and it goes forward 64 steps, okay? Oh, and we have one more here, positive. So we don't have to output just numbers. We can output true or false. Okay, and there are special kinds of reporters. We call those reporters predicates. So you saw these in, we can say stuff like, if we say greater 7 than 5, it's going to say, I don't know what to do with true, right? But we can also use this as input. If greater, if 7 is greater than 5, then go forward 90, right? And that'll go forward 90 because that's true. 7 is greater than 5. Or if less x core than 20, go right 85. And then it returned because the x core right now is a negative number. So the x core is less than 20, so it did that, okay? So we've seen these kinds of reporters before that report true or false. And one of the places that we use those reporters is in our if, is as the first input to an if procedure, right? So we can create our own reporters that report true or false, our own predicates. Okay, so you have this positive, so we can say, if we just say positive, question mark, it's going to say needs more inputs because we need an input. So what's going to happen here? Well, this is going to take the input, whatever n is, and it's going to compare n to 0, and if n is greater than 0, then it's going to output a true, otherwise it's going to output a false, right? Because greater will output either a true or false. So let's say positive 7. I don't know what to do with true. So here we could say if positive x core go, let's see, go back 90. Well, it's not positive at this point. We already saw it was negative, right? So let's move it over to the positive side of the board here and try again. If positive x core back 90, oh, look at that. So when the x core is positive, then it goes back. All right, so those are, so that's how you write a reporter, is you use this output, this special output keyword. So now we've seen you can write commands or reporters. Any procedure you can write, either a command or a reporter, can have 0 inputs or more inputs depending on what you how you write it up here, right? If you put in some inputs next to the procedure name in this procedure definition, then it needs inputs. And if it has this special output keyword, then it's a reporter. Otherwise, it's a command.